A factory on the other side of the world catches fire on a Tuesday. By Friday, Thomas's production line is down and nobody saw it coming. That is the old way of managing supply chain risk. You find out when the delivery fails to arrive. Today, that changes because AI can now watch your entire supplier base around the clock and warn you before the disruption ever reaches your line. Let us see how. First, why this matters more than ever. Supply chains used to be simple and local. Now they are global, lean, and deeply interconnected. A problem with a tiny sub-supplier you have never heard of 3 tiers down can stop your factory. And we've all lived through what happens when that goes wrong. The hard truth is that traditional risk management is reactive. You run an annual review. You check a credit score once a year, and then you cross your fingers. By the time a risk shows up in your numbers, it has usually already hit you. So here is the shift, from reactive to predictive, from finding out late to seeing it coming. And that shift is powered by AI. Let me explain what the AI is actually doing, because it is simpler than it sounds. It is monitoring signals, constantly, across every supplier you have. Signals a human team could never watch at that scale. Think about all the early warning signs of a supplier in trouble, the ones that show up long before a failed delivery. Financial signals, a credit rating slips, late filings, stretched payment terms with their own suppliers. AI reads these the moment they appear. News and events, a factory fire, a strike, a management shakeup, a lawsuit. AI scans thousands of sources in dozens of languages, day and night. Operational signals, shipping and customs data showing delays, port congestion building, lead times quietly stretching, and external shocks, weather events heading for a supplier region, political instability, new tariffs or sanctions landing. No human team could track all of that across hundreds of suppliers every single day. The AI does it tirelessly, and it connects the dots a person scanning one report at a time would simply miss. And connecting the dots is the real magic, not just the watching. A credit downgrade on its own might be noise. A credit downgrade plus a factory in a flood zone, plus lengthening lead times, all on the same supplier in the same week, that is a pattern screaming at you. A human watching one feed would see 3 unrelated facts. The AI sees the shape of a supplier about to fail. That is the difference between data and a warning. It's not just that the machine watches more. It's that it watches everything at once and tells you in separate weak signals add up to one strong one. This is the idea behind what people call a supply chain control tower, a single live view powered by AI that watches everything and surfaces what actually needs your attention, not 1,000 data points, the 3 suppliers that just got riskier this week. And here's the part that genuinely changes the game, multi-tier visibility. The biggest risks are rarely your direct supplier. They are hidden deep in the chain, and the supplier of your supplier of your supplier. AI is increasingly able to map those hidden tiers and spot the single small factory that half your industry secretly depends on. That's the risk that used to be invisible until it detonated. So what does this actually look like for Thomas day to day? It's not him staring at dashboards all afternoon. It's the opposite. He sets it up once with his priorities, then the system works quietly in the background. And when something matters, it doesn't wait for him to go looking. It alerts him. A key supplier's risk score just jumped. Here's why, and here are the sources. Thomas gets that alert weeks before the old way would have shown a failed delivery, which means he has the most valuable thing in all of risk management: time. Time to qualify a second source, time to build buffer stock, time to have the conversation calmly before it becomes a crisis. Risk management stops being firefighting and starts being planning. And he can use generative AI on top of it as his analyst. Paste in the alert and the supplier details and ask it to explain the risk in plain English, draft the internal escalation note, and suggest mitigation options. The monitoring system finds the risk, the generative AI helps him understand it and act on it fast. Now, let's be honest about the limits, because this is not a crystal ball. 1. It cannot predict everything. A truly sudden, unprecedented event can still blindside you. What AI buys you is a head start on risks that do leave a trail, and most of them do. 2. False alarms are real. A system that is too sensitive will cry wolf, and you will start ignoring it. Good setup and your judgment on what actually matters is what keeps the signal useful. 3. And this is the big one. The AI flags the risk. It does not make the decision. Whether to switch suppliers, hold more stock, or accept the risk and watch it, that's a judgment call with cost, relationship, and strategy baked in. The machine sees the signal. You weigh what to do about it. So the pattern is exactly the same one that runs through all of AI and procurement. The machine does the tireless watching across a scale no human can match. You bring the judgment about what it means and what to do. Together, you get resilience that neither could deliver alone. Picture the two versions of Thomas one more time. The old Thomas, finding out about the factory fire when the delivery does not arrive, scrambling, expediting at 4 times the cost, explaining to his boss why the line stopped. The new Thomas getting a quiet alert 2 weeks earlier, calmly activating a backup he had already qualified, and the disruption never even reaches the factory floor. Same fire, completely different outcome. The only difference was seeing it coming. That is what AI risk monitoring really gives you. Not certainty, nobody can promise that, but foresight, the head start that turns a crisis into a managed event. And foresight is what changes how the whole business sees procurement. The buyer who is always firefighting looks reactive, no matter how hard they work. The buyer who walks in and says, "This supplier is going to be a problem in 3 weeks, here's my plan," looks like a strategist. Same person. The difference is the early warning that let them get ahead of it. So let's lock it in. Traditional risk management is reactive. You find out when it's too late. AI flips it to predictive by monitoring financial, news, operational, and external signals across every supplier around the clock. Think of it as a control tower with multi-tier visibility into the risks hidden deep in your chain. It buys you time to act, and you respect the limits. It cannot predict everything, it can cry wolf, and the decision is always yours. You don't need to build the monitoring engine. You need to know it exists, push to switch it on, and learn to act on what it tells you. The buyer who sees disruption coming is worth more than the one who is brilliant at cleaning up after it. Thomas stopped firefighting. Now he sees around corners. If you want the prompts to use generative AI as your risk analyst to explain alerts and draft mitigation plans, they are free and linked below. And our full course shows you how to build resilience into your whole supply base. That's supply chain risk seen before it hits. Now go and build your own early warning. I'll see you in the next one.